For the past several years, KPRC2 has covered conservation efforts the Houston Zoo supports all over the world.
We've shown you all the work being done to save giant tortoises in the Galapagos Islands, giant armadillos and jaguars in the Pantanal in Brazil, pygmy elephants and orangutans in the jungles of Borneo, and lemurs in Madagascar.
And closer to home, we've witnessed progress being made to protect whooping cranes and Houston toads. But as we mentioned, our Saving Wildlife series began in Rwanda in 2015.
The gorillas are curious creatures. Right back there, sitting against the bamboo, is the adult silverback male. He's the leader of the pack, the head of his family.
The silverback's name is Muninya. His group was dubbed Hirwa, or Lucky, in part because of his story. Muninya traveled a long distance on his own to create his own gorilla family here on the slopes of the national park.
On that gorilla trek 9 years ago, Andy Sirota learned the Hirwa family included a rare set of gorilla twins.
And upon his return to Rwanda, he set out to see how the Hirwa family was doing and to see if the twins were still together.
At the base of Volcanoes National Park in the Virunga Mountains, we gathered to meet the guide who would lead us back to the Hirwa group.
Good morning, everybody.
Mountain gorillas only live in 3 countries in the world: Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Volcanoes National Park sits where those countries meet, and the gorilla families move freely across the borders.
Now we have 21 that we are monitoring every day. Bravo.
The families they track include the Hirwa, or Lucky group, which we first saw in 2015. The Hirwa family unfortunately encountered bad luck years later in Uganda. Muninya died of a respiratory infection, and then in 2020, a lightning strike killed 5 more members of the family. Muninya's son brought the family back to Rwanda, where our guide says their numbers have once again grown.
So this is a group composed of 17 members, 7 females, 4 babies, 3 juveniles, and they say 3 silverbacks.
Trackers follow the families daily and record where they make their nest for the night. And so on this day, that's how we knew we would need to drive before we could start our walk. 30 minutes later, we found ourselves parking in a village where porters were lined up to help. Depending on where the gorillas are, treks can take hours. Porters make the journey possible for tourists and the occasional TV crew. Along the way, we learned not only about what we'd see, but also what we might hear when we got to the gorillas. The gorillas are primarily playful and not bothered by people visiting.
Remember I said, means no problem. When he says, means go away. You can find the babies and some of the females, they do for fun, but for the silverback, he gives us a preliminary sound, which is no runaway. Okay, we're almost there. You see the trackers over there, just where they spot the gorillas.
We're not far from the gorillas now. We had to stop here in this clearing and put on these masks because, as we've heard before, gorillas are susceptible to the same types of viruses that we contract.
Just on the other side of some tall vegetation, we spotted our first gorillas. Huddled up, grooming, not concerned at all by us or our cameras.
Yes, they don't care.
A gorilla trek permit allows you to spend 1 hour with the animals. So while we were entranced by the first gorillas we saw, we set off to find the twins. It took teamwork to get over the terrain. Fortunately, they were not far from the rest of their family group. Our guide said they've recorded only 12 cases of mountain gorilla twins, and only 3 survived, including the Hirwa twins, who were born in early 2011 and observed by gorilla doctors starting at just 1 day old. By 8 weeks old, Mom Kabatwa and the twins were eating well and keeping up with the troop, which can travel several miles daily. At 7 months old, the babies and Mom were still active. The twins had just turned 4 when we were in Rwanda in 2015. In 2024, they remarkably were still together.
So curious in terms of population dynamics.
Mountain gorillas are the only gorilla species to have more than one silverback in a family. Only one is the leader, though, so the twins may eventually leave to start their own families.
Is there a way to predict when they may separate and go out on their own?
Well, if I predict anything, I think I'll be wrong. When you come again next 9 years, you might find me wrong. So it's unpredictable what will happen.
In total, we were lucky and saw 11 members of the Hirwa family.
Are they in good health?
Super, yes. Generally, the group is doing well. There's one juvenile that we saw there that has a cut, that has a wound on the back. And looking at the wound is healing well.
Every time that you come up here and you see them, what goes through your mind?
What goes through my mind is it's how much you've achieved so far, because this requires daily monitoring with these trackers, and this requires veterinarians and researchers to be coming together. We've come far, we made a progress, and we have a reason to keep doing this.
Gorilla tourism is an important source of income for locals in Rwanda, but that's just a small part of why so many people are working to save the great apes. At the Houston Zoo, families can see 8 western lowland gorillas. Thanks to Houstonians who visit the gorillas here, the Houston Zoo is able to support multiple conservation projects focused on gorillas, including the Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund, which is helping save gorillas and empowering women in conservation.
When renowned conservationist Diane Fossey began studying mountain gorillas in the 1960s in Africa, the situation for the species was dire. There were only 250 animals estimated left in Rwanda. Despite her death in 1985, her work continues.
We are the world's longest running and largest organization dedicated to gorilla conservation and research. And the amazing thing is when Diane Fossey came here in 1967, she thought that mountain gorillas would be extinct before the year 2000. And instead, they are the only great ape on the planet, other than us, that's increasing. So it is an amazing conservation success story.
Dr. Tara Stowinski and her team are leading the next chapter of the Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund.
I think it's really incumbent upon us to make sure that they have a future alongside us.
While much of the work done to ensure their future is done in the forest, the organization now has a state-of-the-art education and research facility to help. The Ellen DeGeneres campus of the Diane Fossey Fund opened in 2022.
2 years, close to 60,000 guests.
Yes.
Your face lights up.
Yes.
That's a huge success.
Yeah, huge success.
Stowinski, who is the president, CEO, and chief scientific officer of the organization, gave us a tour, starting with the Cindy Broder Conservation Gallery, which includes tributes to Fossey.
And this is a recreation of her cabin that she lived in. A lot of these are her original artifacts. These are her original field clothes that she wore, her luggage, her original desk. I love that, like, while we might have pictures of our family members around the house, she had pictures of gorillas.
They were her family.
They were her family, 100%.
Fossey built a bond with the animals. Her work helped us understand the similarities between gorillas and humans, go beyond DNA and skeletal structure.
These 4 gorillas that you see here were orphans, so they all lost their moms. This is actually a distant uncle who adopted them. And one day, one of the young gorillas got caught in a snare. Our trackers, who are there every single day, they saw it. We contacted our colleagues, the gorilla doctors, who were able to remove the snare. This photo was taken about 3 weeks later. What you can't see here is there's a river, and the family was crossing the river. And this female fascia held back, I think because her foot was still injured. And so this is her sister, Ichiro, who waited for her at the side of the river, holding out her hand to encourage her. And when fascia got across, embraced her in this big, enormous hug. And when you pull back, you see that her entire family was waiting for her as well.
They didn't want to leave her behind.
They didn't want to leave her behind. The support, the encouragement, the reassurance that was given in this very human-like gesture, but obviously that we share with gorillas. The gorillas that you would see at the Houston Zoo are from West Africa, so you can see they've got quite a large area still. The western lowland gorillas, and we estimate there's probably 250 to 300,000 of them left.
The mountain gorillas are in a much smaller area.
This is the space for the mountain gorillas. This is the one we're at here in Rwanda, and then the other one in Uganda. And then these are Growers gorillas, which we also protect, that are only found in eastern Congo.
The newly built campus that's now the hub for their work is 12 acres and includes 250,000 native plants. They're growing a living outdoor classroom for future researchers.
In 20 years, this will be in a forest.
How did you realize that you wanted to work with mountain gorillas?
When we were shown the movie Gorilla in the Mist, and I saw Dan Fossey work, like being in the forest, a woman being in the forest, working with gorillas, it reflected for me resilience and independence that I wanted to have.
Nadia Niyonize learned about the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund through the organization's partnership with the University of Rwanda, where she was a student. Nadia is now a project coordinator for Girls in Conservation, a program created by the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund in 2023. The program involves mentorship, scholarships, and guidance to help girls build their own conservation career paths.
I'm very happy about the impact that we've had so far.
I am incredibly proud of our team here, and Nadia is a great example of that.
Back inside the conservation gallery, people from many different backgrounds are honored on the wall for their work. Several gorillas are also celebrated.
We call this the Hall of Fame. These are 7 of the sort of most iconic gorillas that we've studied over 55 years. And you can actually take a personality quiz to figure out the one that you are most like.
Another fun feature for visitors, making gorilla noises.
For kids. And one of my favorites is this one over here. This is Gorilla Chat. So learning to talk like a gorilla. So we picked 5 iconic gorilla vocalizations. And so you can hear them. This is the chest beat,
right?
All right? And then you have the opportunity to try and do it yourself. I'll try.
Good job.
Good job. It's hard for us to do too because the males have these big air sacs that make that resonate. That doesn't happen with humans.
While tourists coming to Rwanda to learn about gorillas brings in money for locals, the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund relies strictly on charitable dollars to do its work, including support from Houston.
Yes, I'm very grateful to the support of the Houston Zoo.
The Houston Zoo is a wonderful supporter of our work. So they give us unrestricted dollars that we can use to spend on these critical programs that are working to save the gorillas. And they also provide leadership. They serve on our board of directors. They are a critical part of that village through their financial support, their expertise in nonprofit management and leadership. It's a key piece of why we are successful.
Still ahead.
Here we are outside of the Akagera National Park, and we've identified where the zebras are, and we're just getting our darts ready with our anesthetic medications to go and remove them from the field.
Have you done something like this before?
I've done a lot of procedures on a lot of different types of animals, including zebras, but nothing quite like this.
First, more than 1 billion birds fly over the Houston area during migration season. You can make their journey safer by simply turning off outdoor lights. Stick around for more ways you can save animals in the wild.